A hearty welcome to all of you. This is a great privilege that I can discuss something about Raj Yoga to all of you, because this is one of the seminal works of Swami Vivekananda. Perhaps you are aware that of all the different talks that he gave and all the writings that are available in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, this is the only book, perhaps one of the main works that he himself wrote, or rather dictated. So this Raj Yoga is something that he has left behind for the entire world, a very systematic treatment of the science of psychology, Indian psychology in particular, which he referred to as the king of all sciences. He says psychology is the king of all sciences because whether it is interacting with the world around us, or whether we are in religious pursuits, the mind is an important instrument that we use in our interaction with the world, also in our interaction with God or whatever reality we believe in. So just as for surviving in this world, the mind is of utmost importance to a human being, so also you will find that to unravel the mysteries of the inner world as it is known, which is the domain of religion. Religion is nothing but a scientific study in the nature of man, into the nature of man, his personality, overall personality, both internal as well as external. External personality gives us science, a study of the external personality of the human being and also the environment around us has led to the development of physical sciences, technology, and many other subjects which are very familiar to all of us. But we cannot say the same thing about the science of the internal world, which is equally, if not more important. It's definitely important because it is this internal world, the subjective experience, which is of paramount importance to all of us. Everything that we do is for the self within. Something within needs to be satisfied so that our objective experience becomes real for us, becomes useful for us, and our success will be measured by not how much we have, but how much joy we get within. So these are the two approaches. So no doubt we have made, as I said, a lot of progress in the systematic study of the external world, our environment, and that has resulted in a lot of progress, civilizational progress, economic progress, scientific progress, and man has evolved. There's no doubt about it. But then, from time immemorial, there have been spiritual scientists who also felt that there is a need for systematic study in our internal nature, our emotions, our thoughts, our likes, our dislikes, our moods, our anxieties, our fears. They are an integral part of our own personality and they matter a lot because this world assumes significance if we are happy, if we are full of joy, if we are full of peace. No matter how rich or prosperous or successful you are, but if you are not happy, everything that you attain or everything that you achieve in the outside world comes to a naught. A billionaire, if he commits suicide, if he is full of anxiety, cannot deal with himself, his internal world. And in spite of all the progress that he has made in his career, he feels terribly depressed, terribly anxious, and he doesn't know how to solve it. And maybe he even commits suicide. Then what's the use of all the external development? So, external progress, a scientific study into how we can make our lives happy by manipulating nature, by using the natural forces, by using the God given intelligence, the God given intellectual skill, is definitely important to make our life much more uh, progressive, much more comfortable, and that science has proved. Our life has definitely improved over the last few centuries with so much of advancement in the physical sciences. But at the same time, as I said, there is a voice coming to us from time immemorial, the great prophets of all religions, including Hinduism, and all the avatars and all the spiritual scientists. I would not call them religious people. They are also scientists, but they are scientists of the inner world. So, in India, this science of the inner science, or you may say the science of the inner personality, was given the name of yoga, or to be precise, Raj Yoga. So, that will be the topic of discussion for us over the next, I mean, over a series of talks that will be held every third or second, depends on which Sunday we choose. It will be informed to you. But it will be there every month. And those who intend to participate in this journey of self discovery, the science of Raj Yoga, the science, I'm repeating it, it's a science, it's not a really, just to call it just religion, because religion has many connotations. Spirituality also has many connotations. People have fantastic ideas about what religion is, what its purpose is, and what its impact is. Normally, it is a negative impact that we see all around because religion has been misunderstood. So has spirituality. So it would be proper to call it a science of the inner life, of our inner life, of every one of us. And that privilege has been given only to human beings. This privilege has not been given to animals and other uh, creation in nature, because they don't have that faculty of self reflection to look within, as it were, which is the main focus of study. So, now, how did religion, or how did this yoga, let us be specific about religion. When I say religion, when I say spirituality, for our class, I will mean only Raj Yoga or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is a scientific approach to the study of the mind, which, according to Swami Vivekananda, is the king of all sciences. He called psychology, whether it is Western psychology or Indian psychology, which is yoga, as the king of all sciences, because the mind is our window to the world, to the external world, and the same mind is our window to the internal world. We cannot live without our mind. So that's why the great Buddha, he didn't talk of God, he didn't talk of any other thing other than the mind. According to him, his famous dictum of Buddha is, as you think, so you become. He gave so much importance to thoughts. He said, don't waste your time arguing whether there is a God or not. What is the nature of ultimate reality? All these things should not concern you, because right now the problem is with you and it is with your mind. So deal with your mind, you'll deal with the universe. That was his simple philosophy. Of course, I'm making it very simple. Buddhism is much more complex than that. But still, Buddha knew the what is ailing modern man, or what is ailing people. It is their own minds, whether it is their inability to excel in the world outside and become failures, or not be successful. It is their mind that does not support them. All their careers, all their success depends on their mind. Of course, it will depend on their physical uh, uh, structure also, physical aspect of their personality also. You need good health. Just a good mind is not enough. But mind is primary for any kind of success in the external world as also in the internal world. By internal world, I mean the the feelings that we have, the thoughts that we think, the fears and anxieties that we have, and in general, how we deal with our own mind so that we retain some kind of stability in our life and some kind of joy, satisfaction, peace, which every human being seeks. Every human being seeks it. Only thing is, he does not have access to the right kind of mental training which will enable him to achieve that success in the internal world. And that exactly is what Raj Yoga proposes to discuss. And that's what we will be discussing according to the wonderful work of Swami Vivekananda, which is Raj Yoga. If you say what is the single the best gift that he has given to the Western world, in fact, when he dictated the notes of Raj Yoga to Miss Waldo in America, she was the one who took down the notes. She would patiently, because in those days there was no uh, uh, pen. You had to use a nib with a wooden handle, or maybe wooden. It's a wooden pen with a nib, which has to be dipped in a ink pot. And the moment you take it out, unless you write quickly, it will dry. So again, you have to keep it dipped. So that is how she, Miss Waldo, took down the notes, Raj Yoga notes, which we are going to discuss. And the second part of this Raj Yoga, first is the introduction. The wonderful introduction without which we will not understand the second part, which is Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. We will be coming to that. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are a very ancient text of a scientific study of the human mind. You can say it's a manual of Indian psychology. So without studying Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, yoga, of course, nowadays it is been trivialized to such an extent that it just means some physical exercises, which is not true. The whole yoga is known as Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. There are 8 steps, and asana and pranayama just form the first 2 steps, or the second and third steps. First is yama and niyama. But so much of importance is given to this asana so that we have some good physical health, that the entire yoga ends at the most, maybe after pranayama, a little bit of meditation. That's all. But there are 8 steps or 8 stages which Swami Vivekananda has dealt with. After the introduction, we'll discuss that, take up one sutra after another. Of course, this Patanjali Rishi, who was the writer of the sutras, compiler of the sutras. These are very ancient sutras. It's a very ancient psychology which has been systematized by Patanjali. And because they were sutras, they are just cryptic, one-line sutras, a little bit of explanation is necessary. So many people over a period of centuries, like Vyasa and Bhoja, there were quite a few commentators who wrote the explanation, trying to explain every sutra and show its importance to the development of the human mind according to Patanjali's yoga. That is the main goal of yoga, to control the mind and explore into the internal nature, just as a scientist would explore into outer space and external nature. It follows exactly the same principles. So what are those principles? The first principle is, now coming back to this Raj Yoga of Swami Vivekananda, it was the first original work Swami Vivekananda himself dictated. So it is a very authentic work. His other lectures on Karma Yoga, for example, Jnana Yoga, they were all recorded lectures. There may be a little bit of inaccuracies, but of course they were edited, and before they were published, I think he has seen them. But they were extempore talks given either in London or in America and then put together. Even his lectures from Colombo to Almora, which he delivered in India, they were all recorded. There was a stenographer by the name Goodwin who recorded most of these talks. So they are compilations of talks. Whereas this is a book specifically written by Swami Vivekananda. He sat down and he said, before I die, I shall leave behind a very systematic work on the science of Indian psychology or the mind, which is the king of all sciences. I repeat, he said, among all the sciences, without this science, without a study of this science, without a study of your own mind and its infinite possibilities which it has, there cannot be success either in the external world or in the internal world. If you want to succeed as a physical scientist, a scientist of the physical world, you need concentration of mind. If you want success in the internal world, you need the powers of the mind, the concentration of the mind to be focused inward. In either case, it is the mind that is the instrument. So this is one important fact he mentions. And as I said, after the wonderful introduction which we will study to Raj Yoga with Swami Vivekananda, without that introduction, it's not possible to understand the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So the second part of this book is a free translation, not free translation, I may say a commentary on the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras by Swami Vivekananda himself. And it is said that sometimes he would meditate on the sutras for days together, and Waldo would keep her pen dipped in the ink pot and wait for one sentence of Swami Vivekananda. He would just close his eyes, go into deep meditation, and with some wonderful insight, he will say something and she had to note down very quickly what he says. That is how this whole book was written or book was recorded. And then it was published. It's one of his first publications, first published in London in 1896. And later on, there was a New York edition, which was published a little later. But there were two editions of this book initially. Now, of course, it has been published as one single edition. But the book was planned and you may say written by Swami Vivekananda because he dictated and Waldo took down the notes. So the whole book, if you see, in the beginning, over most of the old editions, even the new edition of Raj Yoga begins with three sentences. Each soul is potentially divine. We quote it as one of Swami Vivekananda's most popular quotes. But it is published in the beginning of this Raj Yoga because this deals with all the four yogas, but Raj Yoga is the main yoga, which to the introduction to which he has quoted this. Each soul, that is each jiva, each individual, is potentially divine. This word is very important. Potentially divine means he is divine, but at present, because of the clouds of ignorance covering him or her, he or she is not able to realize that divinity which is already there. So it is just like, for example, I'll give a very crude example, but it's a very effective example. The law of gravitation or the power of gravity was already there. Apples were falling, stones were falling. And it's not Newton that invented gravity. He discovered it, which was potentially there. The laws were formulated by Newton, who says this apple falls, so does all the apples. These are all particular examples. But if you generalize that why all the apples, all the objects, they fall down, there must be some force. He called it gravitational force. He gave equations, and then based on that, the whole science of gravity has developed. It has been used in many scientific discoveries. So this is just a crude example how the law is already there. The phenomena is already there. But it needs to be discovered. So all the laws of the mind, which Patanjali has formulated, they were already there. Much before Patanjali came. There were so many people, the Kapila Muni of Sankhya, who founded the Sankhya philosophy on which Patanjali's philosophy, yoga's philosophy is based. That's why we call it Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya and Yoga are two philosophies which are intimately connected to each other. Sankhya is the philosophy, Yoga is the practical aspect, the theoretical and the practical, the experimental aspect of Sankhya theory. So Sankhya and all these ideas were there. But it was Patanjali who discovered and formulated, not discovered, he experienced the truths, he verified it in the laboratory of the mind, in the laboratory in which spiritual people, for them, the laboratory is the mind itself. So after experimenting, just as a scientist would do, after many experiments, whatever they proposed, whatever theory was proposed, was proved. It was not just some fanatic idea because it was written in the scripture or some supernatural being. That was the primitive idea of religion or spirituality. That there is a being in the world, he gives us laws, he gives us covenant, you have to just obey it. There is no other way, you have to obey it. You cannot deny deny that those truths. They are known as commandments. So they come in different ways. Even our Hinduism has certain scriptural injunctions. The Vedas say you have to do this, you have to do that, and you just do it, blindly obey it. Patanjali was the first, or the Sankhya philosophers were the first to question. And this whole tradition of a scientific approach to religion is what Swami Vivekananda liked so much. He said, if our religion, that is this yoga has to become popular in the West, or if it has to be acceptable as truth in the West, then it has to follow the same principles which discoveries or maybe experiments in the external world, which is known as physical sciences, due to which science has progressed so much. Science and technology does not believe in somebody's theories or beliefs or somebody's postulates. There may be postulates, but then it has to be proved. It has to be experimented. Again and again, it has to be verified. And nobody will say that the law of gravitation is valid only for people in a particular nation because Newton discovered it. The law of gravity will work only in England. No, it will work everywhere. It has to work everywhere. That is why science is known as universal. Truths are universal. They're not the monopoly of any particular caste or particular community or particular nation. Everybody has a right. Nobody says this is my science. Science is science. That is why science became popular. And it was high time, Swami Vivekananda said when he came to England, that I should leave behind a scientific approach to spiritual life. Don't believe because the Vedas say so. Don't believe because any other scripture of the world says so. Why should you believe? In science, you don't follow that. In science, you just don't. Even Newton was questioned. When these laws did not work in the quantum world, there were scientists who said, no, these laws of Newton do not work. They work in the macrocosm, but when you go to the quantum world, these do not work. So they formulated new laws, and the world had to accept it because it was proven again and again through experimental verification. So Swami Vivekananda said, why can't we do it in the spiritual world? Why should we force people to believe something against their wish? They should be allowed to reason out. They should be asking the spiritual scientists to prove what they propose. So Patanjali starts his sutras, and Swami Vivekananda will mention this, that these sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, on which he has written a commentary himself, before that he says it requires a lot of introduction to understand the terms that Patanjali used so many centuries ago, because that was in Sanskrit. Just translating will not help. So that is why he made it very simple. He said each soul is potentially divine. Potentially divine. Just as gravity is there in the apple, it has to be discovered. It has to be experimentally verified. And the goal of the spiritual science of yoga is to bring out that divinity or manifest that divinity which is there already there within. Just as the gravitational law was already there, Newton had to formulate it, discover it, prove it. Similarly, the yogi will say, or Patanjali will say, and all the people who follow Patanjali's Raj Yoga will say, that this divinity has to be experienced. Otherwise, what's the use? I may read a book, I may expound these things, but have I experienced that divinity, whatever divinity we are speaking of? And how to do it? By controlling nature. See, this is very important. He says it can be done by controlling nature, both external and internal. He doesn't say that you have to always follow the spiritual pursuit. You have to live in this world, so you have to control nature outside, which science helps us to do. If the temperature is too much, we have air conditioner. If there is too much cold outside, we have discovered or we have invented heaters so that we can live in comfort. That is why we have evolved as human beings. So we have to control external nature. If nature attacks us by creating viruses, we have to fight against it. So that fight is going on. The whole world is fighting nature. Progress is made, according to Swami Vivekananda, by fighting nature. And he says it's not just the external nature that you have to fight. There is an internal nature which is harassing you, which is resulting in all sorts of problems, psychological problems. So you have to fight both, or control, not fight, control nature outside. If you don't control nature outside, nature will simply destroy you. In our struggle for existence, we have learned to control nature. Human beings have learned to protect ourselves. So, controlling external nature is as important as controlling internal nature. But then the problem is we spend most of our energy in controlling external nature. That is why we have made progress, wonderful progress. But then, as part of our education, controlling internal nature was not given so much importance. In the ancient days, when Patanjali wrote these sutras, maybe along with the scientific knowledge, the education that children received, they also were given the training to control internal nature. So they led a balanced life. They were prosperous. They did wonderful discoveries, which led to the science of Ayurveda, science, medical science, Charaka Samhita, the medical manual. So much of research was done in the external world, how to live in harmony with external nature. But at the same time, equal importance was given. At the age of 6, between 6 and 8, it was mandatory for children who, before even they went to school, they went to live with their guru in the Gurukula. It was mandatory for the parents to give them spiritual education. That is, the Gayatri was given both to boys and girls. I don't know how it became the monopoly of boys and also of a particular caste. But that was never the case. The Vedas believed that along with controlling external nature, which will be taught by their guru in the Gurukul, all the secular sciences, how to use your limbs properly, how to use your brain properly, how to fight warfare, everything was taught. How to earn a living, the economics, political science, everything was taught. That is how to control external nature. That was taught. But at the same time, simultaneously, even at such a young age, they were told to repeat the Gayatri Mantra, which enabled them to study their own minds and their own internal nature. Dhiyo yona prachodayata. That means let my buddhi, that portion of my personality, which will enable me to make the right choices. Because if I am intelligent, if I am a scientifically, I've excelled in science and technology, but if I don't know to make the right choice, I will end up using it in a evil way. I can use it for destruction. So who will make the choice? That choice is enabled by studying the internal nature, by the development of a faculty in us, which is known as buddhi. That is what all the preachers, all the religious or spiritual people of the world, the prophets, every scripture points out to this internal study. They say don't neglect the study of the divinity that is within. Because if you don't know, if you don't develop the power of making choices in life, you will end up, no doubt, you will be a very intelligent human being, but that intelligence will lead to your own destruction and the destruction of others. So, to make the right choice, you need a special faculty which only Raj Yoga can give you, which all yogas can give you, but all yogas, the king of all yogas is known as Raj Yoga. That's why Swami Vivekananda gave the name Raja Yoga. Raja means the king, king of all yogas. Why? Because this control of the mind is necessary for Bhakti Yoga, it is necessary for Jnana Yoga, it is necessary even for Karma Yoga. Without control of mind, none of the yogas are possible. So that is why in Swami Vivekananda's main intention to popularize this book was because this is not only the king of sciences, psychology is the king of sciences in the Western world as well as in the Eastern tradition, both, because it is the mind which is the instrument to make progress externally or to make progress, internal progress, to leave a balance. There should be a balance in life. So this balance was ensured by giving equal importance to the development of the internal nature when the student goes. That is why this age is important. Between 6 and 8, they found that the child has grown enough, both boy and the girl, they have grown enough to make choices in their life. Slowly, they have to be taught how to make good choices, how to make your life happy and the life of others happy around you. And that depends on your mental state. The subjective development that you undergo as a result of Raj Yoga will enable you to be useful to yourself, your family, to the society around you, and the entire world. So, if you are not happy or peaceful within, how can you give peace to others? That's the logic behind this internal development. In both cases, if you see, the mind is involved. Mind is the only instrument for studying external nature and internal nature. So Swami Vivekananda then says, do this either by work, but there also yoga is involved. That's why they say karma. They don't say karma, they say karma yoga, where the will, the faculty of the willpower, that determination that I have good ideas, but I have to practice. I know meditation is good, but I have to get up in the morning and sit in a very disciplined way. That requires willpower. So they say karma yoga helps you to increase your willpower. Just by saying chemistry, 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 you can't be a chemist or you can't be a scientist. You have to get up, you have to work hard, exercise your will again and again in the laboratory, and then become successful. So, Karma Yoga is using the focus or the concentration of the mind to excel in whatever you do by exercising the will. So, as we all know, there are three major powers of our mind: the power to that willpower, the second is feeling or emotion, which is Bhakti Yoga. If you want to develop Bhakti Yoga, you have to strengthen the emotion, not allow it to be wasted. Or people get upset at the slightest provocation, and then they end up becoming emotional wrecks. Just because somebody has said something, they will keep on their emotions are disturbed, and then they become sad. They become sometimes they are full of fear, which is also another emotion. And then there are so many anxieties, worries which come because the emotions are not handled properly. So that is another faculty. By bhakti, you can control the emotional aspect of your mind. By karma yoga, you control the willpower, the will aspect of your mind. There is an aspect which strengthens your will. So a stronger will results in a stronger determination, a stronger capacity to overcome challenges in spite of all the uh, disturbances around you. That willpower is necessary to persist even if you fail. So that development of willpower is karma yoga, development of the emotions and purifying them through a devotion to a personal God whom you love. Everybody has the capacity to love nature, love the family, love so many things in the world. So Bhakti Yoga tells, why don't you use that and refine that by loving God? That is known as Bhakti Yoga. And then philosophy or Jnana Yoga. So we keep reasoning. We try to question everything, especially children when they grow up. They are full of questions. Why these things happen? Why these things do not happen? Why there are so many questions are, which need answers. The parents are either not in a position to answer, even the teachers are not in a position to answer. That curiosity, that knowing. So the child is always wanting to know more and more, understand more and more. So that is Jnana Yoga. And then finally, we come to the king of all yogas, which is Raj Yoga, which is restraining or controlling the mental waves. So one way to control, like if you want to control water, the river flow, then you have to put a dam across and then use that energy, that potential energy, that storage, that reservoir will help you to generate electricity or irrigate fields. Whatever you want, you can do with it, provided you restrain it. So that is the fourth faculty which Patanjali discovered. He said there are four faculties, not just three: willpower, emotions, and thinking, thoughts, knowing. They are the three faculties for three yogas. But what about Raj Yoga? Raj Yoga can be practiced only by controlling thoughts. So that is what Buddha found. He said, as you think, so you become. So you have to be careful of what you think, how you think. And Patanjali discovered, that is the second sutra, which we'll come to that sutra much later. He says, Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. What is yoga? In brief, yoga means to control the vrittis, the vibrations of the chitta. Chitta means our mind stuff. So the more it vibrates, the more its energy is dissipated. Just like if in a dam, if you open one gate, the water is lost. You lose that energy. You need to conserve that energy so that it is not wasted. So that is known as Raj Yoga. You can do one, and finally says, do it by controlling nature, internal as well as external. It would be preferable to control the internal nature first before controlling external nature. I'll tell you the reason why. Because if you want to control others, you have to have control over yourself. Otherwise, if you panic or if you give way to your emotions and you find it very difficult to control yourself, then how can you control others? So if we tell our children, for example, that you should not be restless, you should not be doing this, you should focus, then we have to ask a question subjectively. Am I able to do it? Am I able to sit quietly and meditate so that I can tell others? Teachers are expected to do the things and experience it before telling it to others. So that's the secret. He says, by doing one or more or all of these, you have to become free. You have to get rid of the control of external nature by solving all the problems. You don't want anyone to control you. You don't want somebody to come and scold you and you are upset for the rest of the day. You want to control. You want to control the reactions that are coming in your mind and say, let him say whatever he wants, but that is not going to impact me. That is control. So internal control means no matter what happens outside, you don't lose your moorings, you don't lose your stability. That's why internal control is more important. You may scold him, you may quarrel with him so that he may not scold you again or he may not abuse you. But how long? You can't go on fighting the whole world. So at some stage, Raj Yoga says, you have to control the inner nature so that irrespective of what happens outside, it is not going to impact you in any way. That is the ideal state which Raj Yoga tells you to reach. Swami Vivekananda once, when he was when the Mysore Maharaja asked him, what is the goal of life? Can you tell me in brief? I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. Just tell me what is the goal. What is the ultimate goal of life? If you say it's God realization, it's too vague. People will say, what about the other things that need my attention? I am a king, I have to rule. How can God realization be the goal of my life? So the Mysore Maharaja maybe he was confused because he did not know what his goal was, whether he should control his inner nature, control his subjects, the external nature, and fulfill the responsibilities as a king. So he was perhaps behind his question was this doubt that please tell me what is the goal of life. So Swami Vivekananda gave a very, very intelligent answer. He gave the method. He didn't directly tell him. That will put him off. If you say God realization is the goal of life, it is true. It is 100% true. That's why Thakur said there cannot be a second goal. But what is this God realization? So he said, he gave a wonderful explanation or wonderful meaning to one's life. What is the meaning of one's life? What is the goal of one's life? What is the purpose of one? The main question was, what is the purpose of my life? Plus, where will it lead me to? So he gave a wonderful answer based on Raj Yoga. The whole of Raj Yoga is based on this answer of Swami Vivekananda. He said, life, what is life? That was the question. What is the purpose of life? What is the goal of life? And in general, what is life? So he said, I can tell you briefly what is life. He said, life is an unfoldment of a being. Every being is trying to manifest that divinity which is within. So life is an unfoldment of a being under circumstances which are trying to press it down. So see what a beautiful definition. The whole of Raj Yoga has meaning if it helps us to do this. Life is an unfoldment of a being under circumstances that are trying to press it down. So the nature of the world is the people, the things, nature, both external and internal. They are always trying to press us down. You see, it's a truth that Buddha pointed out, truth that Patanjali pointed out, truth that Krishna pointed out. In every scripture, they say nature, Prakriti always wants to control you. And religion or spirituality or yoga aims to free yourself from their control. No child, if you ask him, wants to be controlled. Maybe when it is an infant, it wants to be controlled by the parents. But as soon as the child grows up, after the age of 6 or 8, it wants to be free. Nobody teaches him to be free. He wants to be free to do whatever he likes. He doesn't know how to attain to that freedom, but he just wants no control over him. No human being wants medicines to control him. No human being wants a doctor to control him. No human being wants pressure due to money or something controlling him. Everybody wants to be free, but doesn't know how to be free from all the controls. Even if he's free externally, he is very prosperous, he has nobody controlling him, he is the absolute dictator. Even then, he cannot control his own mind. Unless he frees his mind, his anxieties, his worries, which are controlling his mind, his personality, he is not free. So he says, by one or more of all these 4 yogas, especially the Raj Yoga, try to remove the controls or try to manifest that divinities by removing all the burden or all the circumstances that are trying to press you down. It's a battle, it's a constant battle, not that you will win in a single day. There has to be persistence. Raj Yoga, Patanjali says in one of the sutras, this has to be persistently practiced, this yoga, so that you can get control over your mind. The beginning itself, he warns us that's not so easy. Even Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita that this mind which has been given by Prakriti to every human being is so difficult to control. It's like a packet of mustard seeds. Once you scatter it, it's so difficult to gather it. It's easy to just open the packet and let the mustard seeds go all over the place. And then if somebody tells you, you collect them. He says the mind is like that. We have opened it. We have allowed the thoughts to randomly go here and there. They are causing us trouble. We know they are causing us trouble. We know our restlessness is making us lose our peace of mind. It's increasing our anxiety, blood pressure, and everything that is connected with fear, anxiety, worry. We know the reason is these diversified thoughts. We do not even know from where they are coming and why they are so diverse. How come I imagine so many things which has not happened? These are the various thoughts, and we find it difficult to control. So Patanjali says it is a Herculean task. So all the 700 sutras is a systematic approach to this yoga. So Swami Vivekananda will conclude by finishing the sentence which Swami Vivekananda has printed in the beginning of the book. He says, this is the whole of religion or spirituality. Doctrines, dogmas, rituals, books, even books, temples, or forms, all other forms that we practice in the name of religion are just secondary. They are not important. The whole purpose of spiritual life is to control nature within or without. If we can do that, then it will be solving the purpose of spirituality, purpose of religion, or purpose of yoga. The purpose of yoga itself, like the purpose of any science, the purpose of medical science is to not allow nature to control us by fighting against bacteria, by fighting against viruses, by fighting against natural calamities, and see that the human being is able to survive. So also internal nature says, religion says, or spirituality says, that it is a fight within also. It's not enough to fight external nature. There are many things to fight within, which make us dependent, which makes us miserable. Swami Vivekananda said, dependence is misery. Anything that you depend upon, when that thing is taken away, you become miserable. So, to enable us to control ourselves, we should not be dependent. So, these are very simple and scientific laws. That if you are not able to control internal nature, that internal nature will control you and your life will be miserable. So, the goal of human life, according to Swami Vivekananda, which he expressed to the Mysore Maharaja, is life is nothing but the capacity of a being trying to unfold itself. The unfoldment of a being under circumstances, external and internal, trying to press it down. So that makes our life meaningful. If we analyze through the study of yoga, how much of the external world is controlling us and how much of our own subjective world, that is the internal world, is controlling us. How easily I become angry, how easily I become upset, how easily I become depressed. And many of the causes are internal, they are not external. There are hundreds of people who listen to abuses every day, but they don't get impacted because they are in control of their internal nature. He said, you say whatever you want to. People may say that they are thick-skinned, that nothing impacts them. But from a yogic point of view, if that thick skin or that thick-skinned attitude is not just because of insensitivity, but because of a deliberate attempt not to get upset, not to react. You see, in Patanjali's yoga, there are two minds, and I'll conclude now because we are almost running short of time. You can have a few question answers if you like. But the the very purpose of this yoga is, as I said, to reduce our dependence on external as well internal things. But at the same time, we find we cannot do it. We cannot control external things. We don't realize because we have not controlled our inner things. So that is why Swami Vivekananda gave a wonderful slogan, be and make. If you want to make or develop your children, develop their personality, first you have to be. If a teacher has to develop the student will definitely ask, first you be what you are saying. If you are calm, if you are composed, then they will listen to you. When you tell them you be calm, you be composed. So you are getting agitated, and then you expect us to follow you. That means first internal nature. That is a very important point Swamiji mentions. He says Rajoga has discovered one secret, that if you want to make any change outside, if you want to control anything outside, the first step is to control the inside. This is one of the most important maxims we fail to understand. Yoga tells us any control outside, if we want it to be done, whatever be your good intentions, your intentions to control outside may be very good. You want your children to be disciplined, you want your the people around you to be peaceful. Nobody wants disturbance outside. But at the same time, this is not possible unless you have peace within. So that internal control leads to external control. That is the second important point Swamiji mentions. Controlling nature, external and internal, but at the end he says it is the control of the internal nature which is the goal of all the four yogas, especially Raj Yoga, which leads to the control of external nature. When we come to the discussion on prana, we will systematically see how he discusses the yama, niyama, asana, prana. Asana, of course, it doesn't give much importance. He says that asana is just, according to Patanjali, asana is the least important of all the steps, 8 steps. Whereas now the whole of yoga has become yogasanas. Asanas are just the very definition of asana of this particular sutra, which deals with asana, is to give sthirata. Sthiram sukham, sukham sthiram asanam. That means it should serve two purposes. It should make your body steady and it should make it stable. So any position which helps you to make the body steady and stable and not physically restless. Mentally you may be restless, but physically, if it enables you to sit in one position for a long time, that is the only purpose of asana. All the other asanas that we do, it may have medical benefits, it may have many other benefits, but it has no spiritual benefit. The hundreds of asanas that have been discovered, unfortunately, that has become primary. But the very purpose of asana is sthirata. Sthirata means steadiness. To meditate, your body should be steady. So that's why when children come here, we have a children's class at 3 o'clock here. Between 3 to 4, they come every month. So this month it's coinciding with your class. So they come, and when after meditation, if I ask, they come up with wonderful answers. because they have never meditated before. Nobody has told them. But when they experience something, when they sit, seeing other people sit, one person, if he sits and in a very steady posture, all will imitate him. If one is restless, the whole crowd gets restless. So when we say, and then you ask, they have understood the meaning of asana. When I ask them, what does a steady posture, sitting steady, what does it do? At least two or three children who belong to the age group of 10 to 14, they said it helps us, it gives us peace. So peace is a mental thing. They have just, they're sitting steadily. Their mind may still be like a monkey, running here, running there. It may still be there, but still, even those 15 minutes where they were asked to sit, sthira, that is steady, sukham, comfortable. You should not twist your legs in such a way that it pains and then you are not happy. You should be happy, whichever posture you manage to sit. And that happy posture should be such that you are not shaken. Physically, you are steady. So, sthiram sukham asanam, this point impacts the mind, the children could understand. You don't have to study Raj Yoga for that. A person who is always restless, a monkey, for example, I just tell them, among all the animals, if you are compared with a monkey, you feel upset because monkey is associated with restlessness. It jumps about from one branch to another. You can't see a monkey sitting steady and meditating. So when you tell the children you are like a monkey, they feel insulted. No, are we so restless? Then they go to prove a point that we are not like monkeys, we are steady people. We can also sit. So it's a question of how you interpret these 8 steps. Asana means nothing beyond that. Absolutely nothing beyond that. It may be a disappointment to many people, but the way Patanjali has defined and the way Swami Vivekananda will explain that sutra, we will come to that much later, but asana has been defined as that which gives you steadiness and that which gives you sukha, or allows you to make your mind peaceful. That's the only purpose. Even pranayama. The pranayama is not for some therapeutic benefit, though it may have, because any kind of steadiness, any kind of regular breathing, any kind of harmony will harmonize the body. That is a byproduct. But pranayama was designed to control the prana within, and Swami Vivekananda has one whole chapter on prana in Raj Yoga. In the introduction, he gives so much importance to prana. I was wondering why pranayama has been given, but he doesn't explain any exercises. In fact, he says it is dangerous to experiment different pranayamas. Only 2 pranayamas, deep breathing, I will come to that, he has said are safe. But he has explained what pranayama is. What prana is. It has nothing to do with breathing. Breathing is one of the techniques of pranayama, but control of prana, how important it is, what is prana, all these things we'll discuss in our future classes. So we'll conclude now. We are running short of time. If there are some questions, I think we can have a very short session. Yeah.
If you have some time, so this Prithvish, that's wonderful class. So
Yes.
The question is, you mentioned about this Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which
Yes.
Swamiji again wrote the Raja Yoga from there. You also mentioned in between, you alluded to Buddha's teachings.
Yes.
So are there any like similarity linkages? Are there the
Yes,
like
yes. Because Buddhism, yes. It's a good question. The question is whether Buddhism has any impact on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras or Yoga Sutras have any impact on Patanjali. So that depends on the dates of this yoga and Sankhya and yoga. They say, obviously, the proponents of Sankhya yoga think that Sankhya is a very, very old philosophy. And one of the teachers of Buddha was a Sankhya teacher. So Sankhya and also yoga, though Patanjali's yoga is much later than Buddha, that's how they date it. So Sankhya Yoga, as a philosophy, they are definitely connected not only to Buddhism, but it precedes Buddhism. The philosophy, not Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So that's why the Buddhists say that you have taken ideas from Buddha, but they fail to understand that Buddha himself was in search of how to control the mind, and he had many Sankhya teachers. Not all of them he followed. He had his own philosophy. He gave so much importance to mental control that he did not believe that the concept of God is necessary in Buddhism. You don't have to discuss. He didn't say there is no God, but he said the idea of God itself is secondary. The idea of controlling the mind is main. So, in that way, Patanjali's yoga comes very near Buddhism, or the not the philosophy, the practical part of Buddhism. You see, as theory, Sankhya may be different, Buddhism may be different, Hinduism may be different, Vedanta may be different. Everybody has some minor modifications. But when it comes to practice, when it comes to control of mind, there is absolutely no doubt that each one of them, or everybody's thought, that the control of mind is paramount. Whether some people emphasize bhakti, like Christianity, they said devotion to God will lead to control of mind. The Shankaracharya and all other Advaitic philosophers, they said control of thought or control of thinking. If you think correctly, that will lead to control of mind. Some people believed that by meditating, but everywhere you will find it's the control of mind which is common between Buddhism and Patanjali.
Thank you, Maharaj. That explains.
Maharaj, I have one question. If you have time, Maharaj.
Yes. I have time.
So normally, whenever we use the word yoga, it is yoga means, as we know, it's a union.
Yes.
So in this case, you're saying you spoke about the inner nature versus the outer nature.
Exactly.
So but it is the Raj Yoga. So this is what is it the union? Where is it is the union between which two?
So in Patanjali, we will come to that sutra. It is very surprising, but there is a sutra which I will discuss in great detail. Yoga has been defined as Viyoga. Viyoga means to separate. So in Patanjali's system, when we say loosely Bhakti Yoga means a union with God, if we believe in a concept of God who is eternal. But since Patanjali's yoga does not believe, there is a Sa Ishvara Sankhya. They base their philosophy on Sankhya, which says the concept of God is not necessary. Purusha and Prakriti are the two things they are involved in. So, union with Purusha is the yoga. But they also interpret it as separating Prakriti from Purusha is the goal of yoga. So, it is known as Viyoga. In that sense, yoga becomes Viyoga. That sutra will clearly explain that the yoga that intends to combine, that is union with Purusha. That is the goal of Sankhya, the goal of yoga also. That our nature is pure, so you have to manifest that nature or unite with that nature. How do you do it? By separating yourself from the control of Prakriti. So according to them, Prakriti is Jada, it is inert, and because of its diversity, it is controlling you in various ways. So by reducing your thoughts, by controlling your thoughts, you are controlling indirectly Prakriti. So that way, it is a Viyoga. So yoga has two meanings in Patanjali. One is the yoga with Purusha, that is your true nature, that is unchangeable, eternal. You may call it God, you may call it Brahman, you may call it Father in heaven. Different religions will give it a different name, the eternal reality, to put it short. So union with eternal reality implies, according to yoga, Viyoga, that is separation from the clutches of Prakriti or Maya. Shankaracharya will say it is Maya, but they will say it is Prakriti because they accept Prakriti as real. See, they believe that Prakriti is also equally real and it is controlling us. So the goal of yoga is to Viyoga, that is to separate. So it has two meanings: separation from Prakriti and union with Purusha.
Okay, so through Raj Yoga, you get the union with Purusha.
Purusha, yes, yes.
Oh, so
Purusha
that
only
is
remains, yes, and it is a very meticulous or a very difficult process where you have to slowly, but then Patanjali very cleverly at the end does not criticize Prakriti. He says Prakriti is like a kind mother. The commentary, I mean, not Patanjali himself, but the commentators are very careful not to criticize Prakriti because she is Shakti. She is the divine mother. So he says the mother has two aspects. One is she can be, I mean, in the Indian philosophy, there is a terrible aspect of mother and there's a good aspect. So he says the yoga is like a loving mother. Prakriti is like a loving mother who takes you through all these difficult and bad experiences, like taking the child through the mela, like it takes you round and finally brings you home, that is to Purusha. So that is the role of Prakriti, that she is not only cruel, not only she controls you, but at the same time she helps you to you be united with the Purusha. So that aspect also you have to remember, that Prakriti is not always bad. Thakur very nicely, Sri Ramakrishna said, Shakti only binds you with her Maya Shakti, but at the same time, she liberates you also. So without Shakti's help, without Prakriti's help, even yoga says, like a mother, she guides us and makes us free and unites us with Purusha. That's the goal of yoga.
That's the goal of this is very complicated, but I understood it. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
But so then when we're talking about Prakriti and Purusha, as you just mentioned, and Sankhya, it is that both are real.
Both are real. Yes. It's a Dvaita philosophy.
Dvaita. So with the Raj Yoga over here, is it based on the Dvaita or the Advaita?
Yeah, the thing is, it all depends on how you interpret. The same thing is expressed in different ways. So Swami Sri Ramakrishna combines it beautifully. Even Swami Vivekananda accepts that it is the union of Purusha and Prakriti which is always there. Shakti and Shiva are two aspects of the same reality, or Purusha and Prakriti are two aspects. When it is stationary, when it is eternal, when it is unchanging, it is Purusha. The same, through the power of Maya, it becomes Prakriti. And when it merges back into Purusha, it is one. So reality is one and also many at the same time. That's the idea. So there is a beautiful reconciliation in Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy. He tried to combine the Advaitavada, the duality of the Sankhyas, with the Advaita of the Vedantins, the Advaitavada of the Vedantins.
Okay, so the fact that...
Yeah. I mean, Shiva and Shakti, according to the Shakta tradition, they are inseparable, but for some reason, Shakti appears to be different. And then the goal is to become one with the Purusha. Like to become one with Brahman, to become one with the Father in heaven, become one with Krishna in Vaikuntha. They are different expressions of the same goal.
Right. But in Raj,
Shuma,
sorry. Yes.
There are a few more questions.
Okay. All right. Now, but just one last thing, just as an extension to this. So this is like Advaita believes the world to be unreal.
Yes, not unreal. It is, you see that it's a very tricky thing. Advaita does not give any importance to Shakti, or they just call it Maya. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's an illusion not as in what we see. It's an illusion when from the point of view of Brahman. From the point of view of Brahman, you just feel that there was only one reality. There was no diversification at all. But when you are in Maya, when you are under the influence of Maya, you cannot say that. But they don't accept. They say it's a temporary state. It is like when it just vanishes. It just vanishes. So illusion, not that it is unreal, but it is, you may say, it is temporary. It is something which they give many examples. Let us not go. It's a very deep philosophy that it's like a mirage in the desert. You see water, when you go near, it disappears. So that's it's just indirectly you can explain, but as long as you are part of Shakti or part of Patanjali is more realistic in the sense, in yoga, you need to feel that you are bound. Whereas in Advaita, you just keep on asserting that you are never bound. You are never bound. Even if the thorn pricks you, you have to say, I have no pain. So it's a very difficult path because you just reject it outright. Then you have to reject everything. You have to reject the family, you have to reject everything that binds you. So Prakriti is, if it is Maya, then how can I have a family? And how can I think these things are real? So Yoga and Sankhya are very more practical. They said, yes, you are bound. You are bound to your family, you are bound to your thoughts, you are bound to so many things. But the Prakriti will help you to remove the controls. So Advaita, that way it is Maya. But if that is Maya, then right from beginning, you have to be in that denial mode, neti mode. The moment somebody says, I am sad or I am angry, Totapuri, he was angry when somebody took his fire, was trying to smoke. Then
Yes.
Thakur said, what kind of Advaita knowledge you have? You are getting angry on a person. That is Maya actually. So that if you are able to practice, if anybody is able to practice, then he can be a wonderful Advaitin. But then he has to deny. He has to deny everything. He has to deny the good. He has to deny the bad. He has to deny that there is any evil. He may suffer, but he has to constantly assert. That is sadhana. He has to constantly assert that this is Maya. If it is good, that is also Maya. I'm not going to be happy about it. And if it is bad, that is also Maya, and I am not going to be disturbed about it.
Okay, Swamiji, thank you
Okay.
so much.
Namaste.
Tusharji. Yes.
Just Krishna Swamiji,
Yeah.
two quick questions. I've heard the term Dhyan Yoga. Is that the same or can be used interchangeably with the term Raj Yoga?
It is the same.
And
Yeah,
it's the
same. It's a part of Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is very extensive. Dhyana Yoga is the seventh step before Samadhi. So Dhyana Yoga, if you consider that, I don't know what you mean by Dhyana Yoga. You can also say Mantra Yoga. You can say Bhakti Yoga. You can say Raj Yoga. You can say that there are many yogas. But the goal is at different steps, at different stages, you call it by different names. That's all. But it's all part. Okay.
So it's a quick second question. As Adi Shankaracharya ji emphasizes urgency for moksha in Bhaja Govindam and the idea of we need to attain self-realization of Brahman. Of the yogas, can we say that one is more likely to relate or give us moksha or take us, or are they all equal in
Yeah, all are equal. According to Vivekananda, they are all equally capable, and it can be done in combination also. That is, you can never be just exclusively a bhakti yogi or exclusively jnani yogi. You can't be. You have emotions, so you need bhakti yoga, directly or indirectly. And coming to your question of Bhaja Govindam, in fact, there he doesn't say mukti is the goal. That is definitely mukti is the goal. But that is a very clear indication that you have to worship Govinda. So there is bhakti involved there. Bhaja Govindam. Why do you have to bhaja if there is no Govinda at all?
True.
Isn't it? He says, of course, he says don't get bound because your time is short and don't waste your time in intellectual pursuits. That is the goal of Bhaja Govindam. That you worship, do sadhana, do yoga, do bhakti yoga, do jnana yoga, do anything, but don't get lost in the forest of words. These are just words. The grammar, dukring karane means if you go on studying grammar and Vedanta and listening to talks and talking and reading books, don't get lost. That's what he says. Instead of that, he says Bhaja Govindam means it's better to worship Govinda so that there is a focus. There's a question of practice there. Okay?
Okay, Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, sir.
So shall we conclude or?
I don't see any other questions coming up, but yes, Maharaj.
So we will
nice class.
continue next. I'll give you the dates. You can announce. So I think second or third. Third is fine. I mean, second also
Third.
is fine.
The third suits us, Maharaj. So that was
Third, okay. Third, yes, yes.
third Sunday, next month.
Huh?
Same time?
Same time, yeah. This time is perfect. Huh? Yeah. Okay, I'll take leave.
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste, namaste. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.